Improved. And now the State Journal's Decision Makers, helping to improve the quality of life in your town and your state for a better future. The State Journal's Decision Makers is brought to you by the Center for Rural Health Development Incorporated, Custom Business Solutions, the West Virginia Hospital Association, and Thrasher Engineering.
Good morning and welcome to the State Journal's Decision Makers. We got hit by multiple storms in the last 4 days, and the ones at the Capitol may change our state forever. Never in my lifetime did I think right-to-work legislation would gain any traction in West Virginia. But the bill has been pushed through the state Senate and it's headed to the House. In a bit, we'll talk with Senate President Bill Cole about what's next for this proposal. And we'll go back to Michigan to talk with business leaders there about what happened when they implemented right-to-work legislation. We'll take a break from politics and head up to Wheeling to sit down with the national volleyball champions from Wheeling Jesuit University. State Senator Chris Walters will tell us about his bill that he's introduced that will put state government in the internet business. Erica Bogus with the West Virginia Housing Development and Stephanie Tyree with the West Virginia Community Development Hub will break down a new program designed to help cities and counties tear down blighted, dangerous buildings. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch Carmichael, he's going to share with us what this week's storms mean for the future of the state. But first, Thursday's floor session in the state Senate was truly historic. It was not without some dramatic moments. President first of all, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations on a historic piece of legislation.
Well, I appreciate it. Very, very proud to have been a part of that, Bray. You know, as you said, did you ever think you'd see it in West Virginia? But honest to goodness, I think that it's the first step in making substantive change, things that can truly move our state forward.
Bill, one of the things that I've been impressed since last year when you became Senate President, and it's really been reflected not only through your leadership, but as you and the new members of the Senate have sort of coalesced to set a standard of putting the people first, putting the economy first, creating jobs, and not worrying so much about what special interest wants. How difficult was it to make this decision, given all the threats and we're going to run you out, we're going to come after your business? You know, there's a lot of stuff that's both out there and not seen that is really intimidating.
You know, there is, and that was, you know, that was just sort of the old style intimidation methods. And, you know, there's been attacks on my business through social media, certainly death threats to myself. But, you know, it isn't about me. There were a lot of people that put themselves out there and their future and, you know, their reputations, all on the line, because we genuinely in our heart believe that this is an opportunity to move our state forward. You know, the naysayers, the old status quo bunch that continue to want to do things the same way are all saying, well, you know, we've never had a business ask us if we were right to work. You know, those businesses never give us a chance. They just never come. And I find that argument so disingenuous. I have a letter on my desk this morning from a major business player in West Virginia in the central part of that says, please, please open West Virginia for business, have right-to-work legislation.
You know, Bill, first of all, it really is amazing to me, and this became a party vote, but I am just actually shocked that Democrats didn't come over to this, because they've always said they're for growing the economy, they're always for doing the right thing. And what's really interesting to me is the Democrats in the Senate who tried to sort of masquerade as conservative and for better business have, in some cases, turned out not to be so conservative.
You know, Bray, irregardless of where this legislation gets to, whether it makes it through the House, across the governor's desk, all those questions, irregardless, I'm proud that I'm on the board in support of this. Not the old, well, I don't want to get hung out to dry, or, you know, the House is going to leave us out there. I think it's about letting people know that you're about doing the right things, the tough things. And my goodness, we got a lot of tough things facing us too. This is just the first one. Hopefully they don't all have to be partisan, but you know, it really surprises me that we had nobody come across that it became a partisan issue. I mean, we have guys that are from the southern coal fields. You know, forget whether it's union, pro-union, anti-union. They don't have anybody working in their counties, certainly union or non-union, and to sit and say, no, we wouldn't want to consider.
Here's what I don't understand. You've got, and you can argue whether it's 8% or 10%, but the percentage of workers in this state that are union is somewhere between 8 and 10%. That's a minuscule. It's 90% aren't. And if you're truly trying to create a better West Virginia, if you're truly trying to put people back to work, this legislation has been proven in every state that's to put people back to work. You can't say that you're not for special interests when you are voting on something that it's not even about the workers. It really is protecting the union dues. That's all this is doing.
Well, it truly is, and you know, watching I think on last week's show you had the Speaker of the House from Michigan, and hearing what he had to say. My goodness, if that didn't, if just his endorsement isn't enough to put people behind it, it surprises me. But you know, the session was interesting. It was emotionally charged. There were, you know, there was a little bit of give and take between the floor and the gallery, and maybe that was a little bit over the top. But it was an emotional issue both ways. And at the end of the day, you know, I have to say about all the people up in the gallery that were from the unions, everybody ended up being respectful, and you know, we went through the process. We had 2 hours of debate, but
and I do applaud that it was a respectful debate. It's certainly a charged and emotional debate.
Sure.
And you know, one of the things that'll be interesting, and we've got an interview with Benny Venuccio coming up. He's with the Mackinac Foundation up in Michigan, and in his interview he talks about the intimidation, but he also talks about what the results are. And there's a very interesting 2-minute video in the middle of that interview that I think people will like. Well, this is one bill, but there's a whole lot of other legislation. So from a Senate perspective, what do you see coming down, and what are some of the priorities now that this one is sent to the House?
You know, we are a terribly overregulated state. I think it was Forbes moved us from 48th to 50th in most regulated states. And while we face the budget crisis that we're facing right now, and the difficulty to find money for good programs, and as we face it, one thing that doesn't cost money and arguably saves money is regulation. So a lot of that comes through the executive branch, but I think a lot of things that we can do legislatively, we will do. We need to get out of the way of business and the job creators. We need to quit having regulations for the sake of supporting jobs, government jobs. But we'll work hard on the regulatory side, and then obviously we have a lot of work to do to get this budget brought in. Well, not only our current year, but the next fiscal year that we're taking up.
As you were talking about the regulatory side, obviously if you get rid of a lot of the regulations, that's an area where you could shift people or ultimately shrink government in terms of the expense that is used to enforce all that.
There's no question.
So the budget bill, will you all be working on that between now and the end, or is all of that work done in the week after the end of the session?
No. We're hard on it. We have meetings. Well, the